I always say this, weight loss is a luxury that most women can afford. And I believe that a lot of women are not really connected with themselves in a way that they're like, I'm paying attention, I'm listening to my body.
But I can remember one of our toxicology, pharmacology professors saying, food is a very powerful drug, isn't it? It is.
And food is medicine, right? Because when we look at the blood work and we understand, okay, this woman is estrogen dominant, there are kind of foods that we're going to be giving her that is going to support estrogen detoxification. I really say that this is a puzzle. And for every person, it's going to be a different puzzle. The information is just so overwhelming. I don't even know how to put these pieces together.
Welcome to Bending Over Backwards with James Adkins. I'm your host, Dr. James Adkins, where each week we take a deep dive into what it takes to break through barriers and change the game, whether that's medicine, business, or life. And today I'm sitting here with Coach Patricia, and she is going to share with us some of the insights she has with training females, training males too. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that interested me, we were just talking about it offline, is females and how they train at certain times of the month, certain times of their cycle to prevent injuries. But anyway, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Super excited to be here.
Yeah, thank you.
In the car driving and say, I'm excited. I'm so excited. So I wouldn't be nervous.
Great. No, I'm frequently nervous. So welcome to the party.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So my wife wanted me to bring you here. She helps run this podcast and she loves your stuff.
Yeah.
And so share with us how you became a leader in your space. Walk us along the stops along the way.
Yeah, your wife is fantastic. She, was my client for a while, so, loved working with her. But, I'm from Brazil originally. I have been here
I didn't know that. Obrigado.
Obrigada.
Yeah, that's about all I know.
Yeah. So, and I have been here for, 25 years now.
Okay.
So I've been always into fitness, did a bikini competition in my early 30s, and always been super into nutrition. Mm-hmm. That was always my passion. Mm-hmm. When I got divorced back in, I can remember I was 42, like 42, somewhere around there. Mm-hmm. I was on those crossroads, right? Okay, what do I do? What am I going to do?
That's a painful experience.
Yeah, and I was just like, okay, I've been always into health and fitness, and I had all these people always coming to me for advice. And I remember one of my cousins came from Brazil to spend 90 days with me. She was going to her English school, and she just was following what I was following. And when she went back to Brazil, people were like, were you in a spa for 3 months in America?
Because so she got ripped.
She looked fantastic. Her skin, her hair, everything. And I remember being here with her, and she's like, cousin, you need to do this for a living, And when I got divorced, I'm like, I'm not going to go work for anybody else. Why don't I just start coaching women? Mm-hmm. And that's how I, originally started.
So personal necessity. You're at a crossroads in life. Mm-hmm. You were suffering.
Yep.
And then you brought a family member in town.
Yep.
And she turned it around in 90 days.
Yeah. She saw, what it
and that was
possible.
Nutrition, exercise, lifestyle.
Training, lifestyle. And back then, she was like, 35 and I was 42. So no major
Brazil's a health
issues there.
Brazil's a health conscious place. Mm-hmm. I mean, excuse me. I used to visit there a lot.
Really?
And I was surprised at how everybody's beautiful, everybody's fit, people are on the beach. That was when the first. What was the fruit that you consume on the
acai?
Acai.
Yeah.
Before it ever came to the States, as the early 2000s, I'd see people eating it at the little, the kiosks on the beach. And it's a health conscious society.
It is.
People are fit.
Yeah, we really love to be healthy and fit and all of that. So
that came naturally to you a bit.
It did. Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now tell us about your business today, because you train some very prominent females in this community.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. What's the name of your business and how?
Well, it's a mouthful, to be honest with you. In the last 6 years, I have done nothing but coach and help women in perimenopause and menopause reverse hormone chaos. Through fitness, nutrition, and through what I call my fit and tone over 40. Blood is a functional blood work method. So, I had to get some extra certifications, and I had to bring a registered dietitian into the program as well to support me with that. Because as I start to attract women my age, I started to notice that just macros and exercising wasn't enough. And I was just like, oh my gosh, all these women now have this weight loss resistance. You know, they feel like they are losing themselves. What they used to work doesn't work anymore. And I started experiencing that myself. And with all the hormone chaos, being estrogen dominant, and gosh, it was a flipping nightmare. And that's how I decided to shift everything into Fit and Tone over 40.
That's interesting because I'm not, I mean, like I say all the time, I'm not even a real doctor anymore. I haven't seen patients in 20 years.
Yeah.
But I work in medicine all day long. I run a spine and pain program. And so I don't stay up with the current science. But one thing that's very clear, you know, if you were educated back when I was, back in the 80s and early 90s, giving women hormone replacement therapy was a really controversial thing.
Correct.
And some of that has lasted for decades after when it should have long been put to bed, right?
Yep.
I mean, and so many females are out there who could have been on HRT or bioidentical. That's not my area of expertise. But are scared of it, aren't they? And so suffered for decades. I mean, that's fascinating because there's so much misinformation out there.
So much, And I started talking about this, you know, a good 4 years ago when I saw the studies on, you know, the whole thing about HRT, you know, causing cancer and the whole thing. We saw that there was a totally debunked, and we saw that it was flawed, right? It wasn't correct, the whole study that they did on that. And I started talking, you know, about that, even though I'm not a doctor, on my social media. And I got so much pushback from doctors messaging me and say, stay in your lane, you know, you should be saying this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh no, you know, I'm not going to go through what my mom did. Let me tell you. And I start talking and, you know, and I am on HRT. I have tons of clients, you know, on HRT. You know, I even have a client that, she's a breast cancer survivor. She's an endocrinologist herself. Can you even say that word right now?
No, endocrinologist. Yeah, that's a tough one. Sometimes.
Yeah, and she.
You started out speaking Portuguese. That's a tough word.
She, you know, did tons of research herself, and she is actually on HRT, and she has been on for 3 years, constantly doing blood work to make sure that, you know, things are moving properly in her body, but. She completely transformed her health, her energy, because she was super fatigued all the time and couldn't lose weight for anything. And, you know, with the proper functional nutrition and just always constantly checking blood work, we were able to reverse things for her.
And you said that you guys monitor, you look at chemistries and blood.
Correct.
And you have other experts in your space with you.
Correct.
That's great. I'm really fascinated that you're in this because, again, I think we talk about, and the only thing I can talk about is spine and pain medicine because that's really the space I live in. But there's a gap. There's a gap between when we start to understand a scientific concept or there's evidence to suggest that we should change the way we're thinking about a procedure or a medication or a supplement we were recommending, right? There's a gap that sometimes some medical educators will say it's 2 decades.
Yeah.
So it's 2 decades between when we get the information before frontline practitioners are sharing that with their patients. So sometimes it does take social media and the internet to move things along faster, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And it looks like it's working in your space.
Yeah, absolutely. Women are desperate for help. They are confused. They, even though we have now we are going into this place where even celebrities are talking about this, right? But it's, once again, we are information overload with this whole thing. And with the women that I talk on social media, they are always like, girl, I am doing the 10,000 steps. I'm lifting weights. I'm eating more protein, like all these people are saying. And why I still feel like totally out of balance, don't even recognize my body anymore. What else is missing, right? And the information is just so overwhelming. I don't even know how to put these pieces together because I really say that this is a puzzle, And for every person is going to be a different puzzle, right? That's why blood work is so vital for us to understand what is happening there with your hormones.
Yeah. And we didn't even, I think the concept of males and females in medicine are just now being studied differently or separately, correct?
Yeah.
I remember, again, from the spine and pain perspective, we'd have a female and a husband that were injured, maybe in the same accident. It was rather fascinating. We'd have a female and her husband injured, and the female sometimes, not always, sometimes it was the opposite, but there was a tendency for a female sometimes to take a little longer to heal. And 25 years ago, as embarrassing as it is for me to admit, I think because I was educated by male doctors mostly, I had a tendency to think, well, they just take a little longer, kind of wink, wink. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to say that when there's actually real physiological reasons. We know that a female's canal to her spinal cord level, like the amount of space between your spinal cord and your canal, that the hole, the vertical hole, your spine, the ratio is completely different. And so a female has less room. So a woman's going to get injured more likely in a car accident, and they have less muscle mass. Their trapezius, their sternocleidomastoid, the muscles that support the spine, smaller. So female can get injured more. But the same thing, like you're saying, with hormones.
Yeah.
If we didn't study females differently and understand they heal differently, and you can't treat a female's physiology like a male's, can you? They're different.
Absolutely.
Now, what about lifting? So one thing that really fascinates me, we don't have to get into the, I'm not an endocrinologist. I know you said you're not.
Right, I'm not a doctor.
So we're not trying to pretend to be, know, but there is a certain time of the month, or there's during a female's cycle when you will exercise them harder. Where does that kind of fall if we say, share with me kind of is there an easy way for our listeners to understand that?
Yeah.
I'm a 25-year-old female and I'm training. When should I exercise? When should I do more heavier weightlifting versus cardio? Is there any, give me your take on that.
I love that question because, I see so much on social media, even coaches, sharing that, on the week of their period, they completely change their workout. So they don't do weightlifting, or, they do this cycle training, according to your ovulation and whatnot. I'm just so confused about that, to be honest with you. But a lot of what I do is based on my own experience and the experience of working with over 700 women in the last 6 years, right? But I got very curious about this whole concept about, when you have your period, you're not supposed to be, lifting weights because you're more prone to injuries. And I was like, okay, but there are months that I have no symptoms. I get my period and I feel great, and I go to the gym and absolutely crush my workout. And actually it's one of my best workouts. And then there are other months that I wake up and I am extremely fatigued. I have cramps. I have brain fog. I absolutely cannot go to a gym and lift, right? So when I was doing some research on this, I found out that actually during our ovulation period, which is right after our period, estrogen is at peak. So when estrogen is at peak, now it creates more, elasticity?
Elasticity in the ligaments.
Right? So when that happens, we actually are more unstable during our workouts. But you are not dealing with fatigue. You're not dealing, generally speaking, with cramps. You're not dealing with brain fog. So you can pay more attention to your form. But even in athletes, they see that's when you actually have more, knee injuries, or you strain your ankle. It's fascinating, right? Now, when we are in our period, and estrogen declines, right? Now our joints get more stiff, doesn't have that much of that elasticity, that laxity, right? And so you have more stability on your training, actually. That's why, when I was like, oh my gosh, why am I on my period? I'm crushing this workout. Does that make sense? So it's not so much as hormone related as it is, energy deficiency recovery that you need to really pay attention. And I believe that a lot of women are not really connected with themselves in a way that they're like, I'm paying attention. I'm listening to my body, right? Like this week, I just canceled my training on Tuesday because I was on my second day of my period, and I absolutely could not imagine going to the gym. And I did a yoga instead, right? So that was more recovery, more restorative.
So it's multifactorial. It's not just so that if I can, if I'm paraphrasing you and I'm incorrect, please correct me. But you're saying that right after menses, when your estrogen levels start to climb, your ligaments may be more lax and you're more predisposed to injury, but you also may be thinking more clearly and more focused in the gym.
Yep.
And then after you ovulate, when your progesterone levels start to go up and your estrogen levels start to go down, your joints may be more stable, but you may feel a little not as clear in the.
Correct.
So it's multi.
It's
everybody's
mostly
different.
about your
Every female's
form
different.
that is causing the injury.
But I love that you brought up the concept of ligamentous laxity. Again, that's fascinating to me because when I equate things back to spine and pain medicine because that's where my strength is.
Yeah.
When I think about a person having an injury, we used to think after a spine injury, we wanted to do all these dynamic exercises to strengthen a person's their core and their spine. And a lot of people got injured. And because patients were unstable, we were doing a lot of dynamic exercises, stressing the joints and ligaments and actually re-injuring patients. Where now, after a spine injury, when a person may have some loosey-goosey ligaments, we're doing more stabilization exercises now, which we didn't do 25, 30 years ago. We didn't do that. We see a lot more of that.
Yeah.
So you're saying, again, possibly right after menses, when early in a female's cycle, they may want to be careful with certain moves because their joints are more apt to be unstable, hypermobile, as we say, or the ligaments could maybe tear easier. Correct. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Now I understand that. That's great.
Well, I just stumbled upon this as I started seeing all these coaches, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to the gym. I wake up, I'm like, well, I'm not going to go to the gym because I'm in my period. Well, I feel amazing.
Yeah.
And I literally crushed the workout. It's like, oh my gosh, this workout was amazing. And I'm on my period. This is so weird. And then some other months, I absolutely can't even get out of bed on the day 2.
Yeah. Well, experiential knowledge is a good teacher.
Yeah.
She's not always so kind as my dad used to say, experience, but she teaches you well. That's
and then
true.
you go do your research and you're like, oh, no wonder this is why.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So slipping from macros with diet, protein, fat, carbohydrate ratios, I guess that's what you're talking about, to micro. Do you have any, everybody's talking about gut health, right? It's been something I've been fascinated with, honestly, for 25 years.
Yep.
But I'm glad that it's now a hot topic. What about getting into do you get into micronutrition as much, recommending general supplements to patients, or or is it a kind of a little bit of both? Are you more macro, teaching people how to eat? What's your jam?
Everything. I love that question because everything is going to be personalized, right? So if a client comes to me and she is optimized, she's already on HRT, she
She's taking some basic supplements.
She's sleeping well, right? She's not dealing with depression, gut problems, right? So with her, primarily is going to be macro-based, right? And we're going to, match that food ratio to training, make sure that she's putting on muscle. And of course, we always help, with micronutrients as well.
Okay.
But that's some easier client, right? That's the client that we love to have
it's
when,
easier.
It's in the 20s and 30s.
Then you get her train wrecks. Then you get train wrecks. And
now you come to me, and that's the main thing that I had to shift in my program because the majority of women that I work with, they are not coming optimized. They are afraid of HRT.
They're ill. They're sick.
They are ill. They're sick, right? The microbiome, it shifts as we enter perimenopause. They are having gut issues. Obviously, if you're having hot flashes or, depression or
fatigue,
all
brain
those
fog,
symptoms, brain
Yeah.
fog.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's happening already on your gut, right? Because it's all connected with hormones. And so then we don't have any other option but really work primarily with functional nutrition, micronutrients. And it's incredible what, everybody says, oh, food is medicine.
It is.
And food is medicine, right? Because when we look at the blood work and we understand, okay, this woman is estrogen dominant, there are kind of foods that we're going to be giving her that is going to support estrogen detoxification, right? So when I see a client, for example, their liver pathway detoxification, are not are not, how can I say, releasing the estrogen, not functioning properly, we need to do a liver detoxification. And I'm not just talking about juices and cleanses. Nutrition. Proper nutrition.
That's where it starts with food, isn't it?
It is always that.
I remember one of my, and I'm not a prescriber, but I can remember one of our toxicology, pharmacology professors saying, food is the most powerful drug you'll ever consume.
Yep.
And I'm like, what?
Yep.
Food is food is a very powerful drug, isn't it? It's very powerful.
It is absolutely. I see it every time, but it's a really. It's the most powerful and the one that people resist the most.
Yeah.
Right?
I need a tincture.
Yeah.
Or I need something to drink that's going to make me healthy, not just what I put in my mouth all day long every day. Yeah. That's brilliant.
I love that. It's challenging. So, I am also a life coach, so I have to work with these people with mindset, right? Especially for women in perimenopause right now, alcohol, it's not going to be your best friend.
Alcohol's we're coming to an awareness on alcohol.
Oh yeah.
And I'm Irish Catholic, so
oh boy.
So I'm all about red wine and beer.
Right.
It's been a lifelong. I have to keep my eye on that.
Yeah.
But alcohol's bad news.
It's terrible.
There's no safe levels of alcohol, is there?
No, especially for women, and once again, women in perimenopause. I'm talking about over 40. You don't just. You don't recover anymore the way you used to. But the main issue for us, for the females, is the fact that our hormones are metabolized in our liver. So now with all the, processed foods and stress and high cortisol, that liver is not functioning properly. And now on top of that, you're going to add alcohol. You just won't be able to see results.
With all the other endocrine disruptors we're already dealing with.
Correct.
Your liver's having to metabolize already. That's so true. And then a poor diet, and then those proteins, as I know you understand well, leaking through the luminal wall, the gut wall, right?
Yep.
Which is paper thin, leaking through, and then your body perceiving those as a foreign invader. So now your body's attacking all the food you're eating, and so you're inflamed. You're just one big inflammaging. Is that what the anti-aging guys call it now? Inflammaging.
Inflammaging. Yeah. And then they come to me and they're like, well, I'm doing strength training. Okay. I'm trying to eat clean, whatever that is. Right. And I still don't look like I work out. And my weight won't budge. Guess what? It won't.
You're right.
It won't.
Until you get the whole enchilada.
Correct.
The whole perspective.
Exactly. We got to minimize inflammation. We got to get rid of some things. You're going to feel a little bit restricted for a while until your body is back to calm, right? And until your gut is processing foods properly, until you can actually go to the bathroom consistently, until your blood markers are in a better place, until your cortisol is not through the roof. So there is functional protocols that we put in place to be able to support you with this. It's like heal first. Let's prime your body for the weight loss. I always say this: weight loss is a luxury that most women can afford.
Well, I like that because females have to look at the covers of magazines.
Correct.
And that's not real. We all know it's not real today, but still, I'm a father of 2 boys and a little daughter. I can't imagine her growing up and thinking, well, that's how everyone looks. No, that's not how everyone looks.
No,
and the effort it takes to be healthy and strong, right?
Yep.
That's what I want my daughter.
Correct.
I don't care if she's skinny. I want her strong. Yep. I want her to be able to deal with life and society, right? And what it throws at you. But it's hard. I'm not just saying this because you're sitting here. I think it's a little harder for females with the body awareness stuff that young men, I've got 2 young boys that are dealing. I can see it now too. Yeah. They're all into asking me about testosterone. I'm like, dude, you're 12. And your brother's 15. I'm like, you guys, what do you watch on TikTok? Makes me nervous.
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah. Right? My son is 22, and he literally called me this week, and he was like, "Mom, what's up with all this stuff with peptides? I need some peptides. I'm like, no. I was like, Andrew, you're 22.
You need good food.
No peptides for you right now. Like, please do not. Oh, because everybody on TikTok is talking. I'm like, this TikTok. Okay.
Yeah, hormone replacement therapy is a big deal, right? Yeah, you got to know what you're doing. But there's
a time.
The fact
and a
is, we were
place
scared. Women were scared.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, due to one study a couple decades ago.
Yeah. But the thing is this too, James, don't mean to cut you off. women, even on hormone replacement therapy will not work properly if you're not dialed in with your nutrition. It just won't.
And your movement.
And your movement. Yeah, nutrition and training. We see women, getting on progesterone and feeling even worse.
Yeah.
I've seen women getting on, estrogen and feeling worse. Why? Because once again, we go back to the liver. The liver is not detoxifying properly. The pathways, they are not releasing, it's not releasing the bad estrogen, the estrogen that we need to release from the body. And now they have the estrogen circulating in their body and they are taking estrogen. Does that make sense? So they are more foggy. And I'm like, okay, girl, we gotta optimize this thing first. Your liver has to be, that inflammation has to come down in order for the hormones to work properly.
Yeah.
We,
I started at spine and pain conferences. I started noticing about 2005, about 20 years ago, 2006, some of the physicians that are also pharmacologists. So they were pharmacists and also physicians. They were lecturing to a group of pain physicians and spine doctors. And I started noticing them about 20 years ago saying, hey, we've got to start looking at some of these precursor hormones because we can't just keep giving our patients opioids. And when the opioids don't work anymore, their endocrine system's so messed up. And I can remember a very famous physician his name is Forrest Tennant, and he was a pharmacologist and a pain doctor. And him saying, look, we've got to start prescribing some of these, and again, I'm not a prescriber, to start prescribing some of these hormone precursors like pregnenolone and DHEA and some other hormones, because the opioids we're giving our patients are destroying their endocrine system and they don't work anymore. And so, one of his messages was, listen, the anti-aging docs, the anti-aging physicians have done a lot of research with some of the hormone replacement stuff. Don't be afraid of it.
Yeah.
That was a message he was giving 20 years ago. He's since passed.
Wow.
But it's nice, even non-physicians, women that are coaches are helping other females get past that outdated, be scared of hormone replacement therapy. I love that because your endocrine system's very, very sensitive, isn't it?
Yeah. But once again, how are you going to know what to prescribe if you don't do a blood work?
You got to be looking at chemistries and blood analysis.
Right? And that's the other thing that I'm seeing right now. Women going to doctors, and it's a 5 minutes consultation on a topic that you need at least 30 minutes just to get the hang of it. And they are just asking for your symptoms and prescribing, just off of your symptoms. I understand if you're a woman that you are having debilitating hot flashes, we know for a fact you have no estrogen. So, okay, I get in that point. But, sometimes just a DHEA, right? Just can actually support, right, as a precursor for testosterone and progesterone.
Yeah.
So, but how are we going to know if we don't test? So I'm just obsessed about testing first.
Yeah, well, that's great.
Yeah.
Measuring when you start, I'm very reticent to recommend supplements to my patients because I've been doing it for 40 years.
Yeah.
But 40 years, 35 years. But because I want to know how it interfaces with their physiology, and I don't recommend that stuff anymore because I don't see patients. I don't keep up with the research. But you're right. We should be measuring blood chemistries and making sure we're doing things scientifically if we can.
Yeah.
I love what you're doing though. That's very cool. What are let me ask you about a little bit. Have you overcome any personal, as far as orthopedic, shoulder, knee, joint, spine, anything? That's my space. I'm just curious because you're very fit, obviously.
Yeah. I did have a minor accident when I was probably, early 20s.
Okay.
And then I had a really stiff neck for a long time. And every time I go to a chiropractor or I do, a spine x-ray or whatever, they always say that my neck doesn't have the C curve. It's the opposite. Sure. It's like I have a completely opposite curve. So just recently I went to a chiropractor because I'm always noticing pain on my hip, like a little bit of a sciatica once in a while. And I had he showed me that I had a little bit of a scoliosis, I guess. So I'm like, okay, and then he's like, obviously want to see me 3 times a week and do all of that. But I realized that I had to become very smart with my training, especially after seeing my husband's injury, and how he shifted his training to be able to accommodate the injury so he could continue training and staying strong. I don't do any more squats. I don't go on a squat rack. I don't put a barbell on my shoulders anymore. I completely shift to how I do my training, and I haven't had any flare-up or injuries at all.
Thank you for sharing that. Having the correct functional exercise, right?
Correct.
It's my biggest criticism of spine providers, and I include that surgeons, physiatrists, pain doctors, chiropractors, physical therapists. My biggest complaint, my biggest issue, because I've been in that space for most of my life, is our reliance on what we passively give to patients, right? What procedure we do, or what manipulation we do, or what injection we do, or surgery, versus also making sure that we look at what they're putting in their mouth, how their functional exercise is. You're so spot on. I mean, if I say all the time, if patients would use their turn signals and train their core, I'd be out of a job. I mean, kind of tongue-in-cheek kidding. But the reality is, functional exercise is so important, isn't it? It's so important. And making sure that we have a strong core, because just relying on your chiropractor to adjust you, or your physical therapist, or your next epidural, or someone saying, I'm finally going to be fixed. I want to be fixed. I want that surgery, that
Correct.
fusion.
Yeah. I want to get rid of this.
I want to get it fixed. I mean, that's great if you have a team, but I love what you're doing, because the reality is patients are going to have to educate themselves and be an active participant in their recovery, aren't they?
Yeah. You have to change your lifestyle.
You have to.
Because you're going to do the surgery, and then what? You're going to continue living the way you were.
So true.
It's only going to last for so long. And I had a client that she was like, I'm going to do a liposuction. I was like, and then what? Right? It's just going to last for a little bit. If you don't put on muscle. The third one didn't work.
Maybe you got to stop. You got to look at other aspects.
I'm like, it doesn't matter. You know, it's going to come back. I'm all for it, but your lifestyle has to change.
Yeah. Us humans are afraid of pain, aren't we?
Right.
A little pain for their diet, a little pain for him. To me, I'm never afraid.
Right.
But the behavior of changing, we don't want to change, do we?
No.
We just don't want to change what we eat, what we drink, how we exercise, how we move. Well, I'm glad that you're making an impact in your space.
Yeah.
So last question before we go. What are, give me two things, a woman listening to this, she's not doing good. Give me two things you'd recommend to every female out there who's perimenopausal, who just doesn't feel good. Are there two general recommendations you would give people?
I am going to start by saying you have to become an advocate for yourself, right? Because I see that women go to the doctors and they are dismissed. They feel unheard. Here's your blood work. They just give them a general, basic blood work. And, the markers, right, from blood work for, normal and optimal, two different, right, things. And the doctor says, you everything's normal. And she still feel terrible, right? So I know something is off. What is it? And you need to know what kind of blood work you need to ask your doctor. You got to do that research. So to be honest, the majority of, unless your doctor is a hormone specialist who took a hormone specialist certification, he or she will not know what to do with you.
Frequently, I agree.
There's no,
unless you're an endocrinologist,
there is
or an
no
officer,
literature
OB-GYN.
on OB-GYN, understanding perimenopause and menopause. We just don't have that. I have several clients who are OB-GYN, and they have told me, Patricia, we studied nothing of this in med school. There's no teaching.
So your clients are OB-GYNs, and
correct,
and you're helping coach them on on precursor hormones.
Correct. Okay. And they are like, wow, I cannot believe that there's things that I'm not trying to say but sometimes people like us, we know more than them because they didn't have that in med school. Number two, they don't have the time to go take new certifications right now. They are packed, right? They exhausted themselves. So you need to become an advocate for yourself.
Okay.
You need to know what kind of blood work you want to ask your OBGYN, and you just need to be like, no, I do need to know this, right?
So being an advocate for your health and educating yourself is number one.
Yeah,
number
that's
one.
big. I'm big on
What's
that.
the second one?
The second one, obviously, is going to be the one that you probably the one but it's like, oh, I already know that it is going to be nutrition. Right? So I always talk about the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time I'm going to eat whole foods, and 20% of the time I'm going to enjoy myself. Well, if you are very symptomatic, okay, if you're super inflamed,
you're ill already.
right? You are in the place that you're like, I don't know what else to do. I feel like I've tried everything. You are not in the position right now to be eating processed foods and having the 80-20 rule. You really need to go all in.
Oh, that's good
You
advice.
got to go all in for a while. You just make the decision. And that doesn't mean you're going to cut all carbs. Please do not do that. You want to pay attention to your fiber. You want to pay attention to how much water you drink. You want to pay attention to your proteins, to your healthy fats, right? So you really want to be working with your nutrition, clean it up so that inflammation can minimize.
Great advice. That's fantastic. It seems like everyday stuff to you.
It is,
because
right?
you live it so much.
Yeah, correct.
But hopefully somebody heard that and will gain from that.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I hope today's episode helps you stand taller in your own shoes. And if you are a female or a male, but especially females, and you're perimenstrual, give Coach Patricia a call. She'll help you. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.